Okay guys, so back to the code. So we have a relative layout in here. We will first change our relative layout to a linear layout, and we will set the orientation to vertical. And we have a text view here with the hello world text. We will provide an ID to this guy. So ID TV JSON item is the name. We will also need one button, so we can add one button here, and we can do this via the code. So wrap content and ID btn hit and text hit. So basically the point is, when we will click on this button, it will hit on the server and will give a response back. So these two views are required. And in the main activity, let's remove all this code for now. I can comment this one so that I can use it later. And here what I will need one button find view by id r dot id dot button hit. And the second thing I need here is the text view. So TV data text view find view by id r dot id dot TV JSON item is the name. So first let's hit on the server and get our data back, right? So what you need here is HttpUrlConnection and a URL to hit. So you need a URL equals to new URL, or URL goes here. Okay, so you can face some problems with the URL, like the URL is not correct, so you have to surround it in a try-catch block. So this is your URL. Now the connection should be HTTP URL connection, and what you can do here is URL dot open connection. You can open the connection here. Again, this thing can create an IO exception, so you have to add the catch clause in the same try catch block, or you can create a separate try catch block, which is not advised. This is the second thing. And now after that you will write connection dot connect. So now after this point of code, you will be connecting directly to the server. Now what you will get back in the response will be an input stream. So you have to store the data into an input stream, and then you have to do the thing with it. So what you have to do here, you have to write input stream equals to connection dot get input stream. So you have received the stream and you have stored that stream into a stream object. The last thing that you will be needing is a buffered reader. Now this buffered reader will help you to read this thing. So reader equals to new buffered reader, new input stream reader, and here you will pass the stream. So this is our reader, and through this reader we can actually read our data line by line in our string or in our text format. Okay, so what you have to do here, you have to use a while loop. So creating a while loop here, while Before that, we need one string line. Line equals to reader dot read line, and while it is not null, we will keep reading. And we will also need one more object here that is called string buffer. New string buffer and buffer dot append line. We'll add one more thing here. We will add one. Okay, leave it. So add just line here. And the last thing that you will do here is close the connection when you are done. So we will create a finally block here. In the finally block, we will close both of our connection and the reader. Both of these things need to be closed. But this is one local object here, so we cannot access it into the finally block. So I have to make it here. And I will do the work here. However, I have initialized it here. So finally, I will close the connection, disconnect, and reader dot close, closing the reader. Now there are two problems here. The first one is it is not initialized, so I have to initialize with null. And to close the reader, you need a try catch block. So surround it with a try catch block. And the shortcut for doing this stuff very quickly is Alt Enter. So when you put Alt Enter, it will show you suggestions. Press Enter afterwards, and your reader is inside the try catch block. Now there's one more problem here. Our connection is null. There is a possibility that we don't go or we don't open the connection, or the buffer is the reader is not initialized. Anything could happen. In that scenario, our connection or reader could be null. So you cannot disconnect or close something that is null. You will get a null pointer exception. So first you have to check if connection is not null, then you disconnect. And similarly, if reader is not null, then you close it. Well, you must be thinking, what if the reader is null and then we don't close the connection? Well, if the reader is not is null itself, that means it's not initialized, right? So you don't have to close it. You don't have to release the resources or anything. So we are almost done here, except our URL is missing. So let's see what is our URL. So let me just open the Chrome here, and I have one URL which we will hit, and that is the URL. So when we will hit this URL, we will get this JSON, a single object inside a JSON array. So let's copy this and paste in our project. There we go. Okay, so now what we have to do all this stuff on a button click, right? So we have to set an on click listener on the button. ATM hit set on click listener, new on click listener, and all this stuff goes inside the button click. The last thing is you will set the data when you are done here. So tv data dot set text, and where we are actually holding the data, we are actually holding the data into this buffer. So this buffer can be converted to string, and I will make our tv data final for now. So we are completely done here, and that's it, right? So now let's run our project and see whether we are able to fetch the data or we will receive an error or exception. So let me just connect my device. Okay, it is there. So now let's run this application. Selecting my device here. Okay, it is loading, so it will take a little while installing the app. And that's it. So now what we have on the screen is we have a hit button and we have a hello world here, the text that will be changed by our JSON. But as soon as I click on this hit, we will receive an exception. So let me just click on this hit. Our application has crashed, and let's go to the error here and see what is the error. Oops. Okay, so the first error that we are getting here is the network on main thread exception. Now what is this network on main thread exception? So now we have to go to our problem. Okay, so here is the problem. This is the problem. Android does not allow you to make network calls on UI thread, and it does not allow you to change anything on the UI if you are on a background thread. And to ease things for you, Android has an async task. Now, but what is this UI thread or a background thread?